The biggest thing, I think, is immobilization during hospitalization. So older adults are put to bed in the hospital and then not gotten up, not exercised regularly, and within the course of a few days can lose their ability to walk. And I just have to tell you an important story. This isn't limited to older adults. There was a paper back in the 1950s where the Green Bay Packers were put into bed after 5 days. How many Green Bay Packers, Dr. Wong, do you think could hop out of bed and walk? How many of them? What percent would you say?
I think I could have been on their football team, so.
So none of them could hop out of bed.
Wow.
And walk.
They probably didn't know how to play football anymore. They probably were totally confused.
They didn't do cognitive testing on them, but I wouldn't be surprised, right? Maintaining nutrition and hydration can also be hard during hospitalizations, because how many times do you have nothing to eat or drink after midnight, right? For this test and that test and this test, and you're going through a series of tests, and it's just forgotten that you haven't eaten or drank anything since midnight, right? And now it's 3:00 the next afternoon. And so we got to pay attention to that. We got to make sure older adults are wearing their glasses and hearing aids in the hospital so that they can see and hear what's going on and instructions are being given. Very hard to sleep in the hospital, okay? And we're trying to, patients get vital signs all night, they get IV changes, they get medications, they get breathing treatments, they get all kinds of things happen all night long. They're taken to the X-ray suite. And so they get no sleep during the night. Particularly with older adults who have dementia or Alzheimer's disease, it can be very helpful if a family member is willing to stay overnight. I have done that for my family members. And most hospitals will provide you a cot or a recliner chair that you can sleep in right next and be available to help. And that can be so calming, right, and orienting for your loved one.
Dr. Inouye, in a hospital setting, it's so easy for everybody who works in the hospital to see a patient as a patient. And it's so important to see a patient as a person first. And because if you don't see the person as a person, it impacts the patient. I mean, just taking care of the person, letting them know they're just not just being carted around, giving them comfort. It's going to help them be a better patient as well. So not only in terms of being a patient, but also in the healing process.
Absolutely. And I know in my health program, we used to encourage families to bring in a recent snapshot photo of their loved one in street clothes.
Some families are extremely busy, but even to visit and convey your love, it registers on the staff that this is a loved person. And I think it really makes a difference.
That's right. That's right. I think it does. And I think, I totally think it does make a difference to have family there, to have visitors, not only for the person who's there in the hospital bed, but for the whole staff.
I also want to convey to people how important of a champion you have been, and that, part of the reason I do what I do is because, sometimes it just seems like the caregivers are all alone. And a person like you really helps me convey that, caregivers are not alone. There's champions, there's people who really care, and that it's not all about them doing things wrong. It's about the system still needs vast improvement. And, underneath all that, I know that the work that you do, there's been some degree of frustration over the years, Dr. Inouye. But I'll end with this, what is your aspiration? So the people have gotten to know you as a person a little bit, which I think is really important, but what's your aspiration over the next couple of years, Dr. Inouye?
Yes, well, actually, and it's just so fortuitous that you contacted me now, because the two big projects that I want to do next are both actually with family involvement to help improve delirium prevention and prevent cognitive decline. So one is I would like to formally develop and test family involvement in the hospital elder life program, because I firmly believe that family involvement in the program will strengthen the program substantially, and also it will allow us to empower and train family members on what to do after discharge. And so I think it's going to create this critical bridge for transitions and for, really teach caregivers what to do once a loved one goes home. And so that's very much, I've actually already submitted that grant. So fingers crossed it will get approved, right? And so that is the aspirational goal. Another goal that I've had for quite a while, and I had submitted this grant before the pandemic, actually to do the work at several California assisted livings, was to try to train families outside the hospital in persons at high risk for delirium. So people with mild cognitive impairment, with early Alzheimer's disease. I wanted to teach their family members how to recognize delirium, how to prevent it, what to do if they thought it was occurring. It's like low-hanging fruit for us. We can, there's all these expensive drugs coming on the market, and, people are spending millions, if not billions of dollars to find the magical cure drug. Which I still think is important, and I don't want to, say we shouldn't do that. We should be doing that. On the other hand, I wish billions of dollars could be invested to empower families.
There's no one more important on the healthcare team than the caregiver. The caregiver is just so important, and if we just help them to know some hints and whatever to really make it so that they're a part of the team.
This was just wonderful, Dr. Wong. I really enjoyed it, and I totally agree with you that families and family caregivers are the heart and soul of our healthcare system.